Welcome to another episode of Reflections. I'm your host, Patrick Tomlinson. Today we have the honor and privilege of a very interesting and exciting guest, Dr. Kildare Clarke, MD, JD, MSc. Dr. Clarke has had over 25 years of progressive experience in public health. He was the associate and acting executive director at the New York City Health and Hospitals Corporation. He was also director of the Kings County Hospital Center, its primary care center, and also chairman of the Kings County Hospital Center. Dr. Clarke has had wide and varied experience in the field of medicine. His specialties are psychiatry, neurology, emergency medicine, and medico legal forensic medicine. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Kildare Clarke, who will speak to us authoritatively about the pandemic as it relates to several communities. Welcome, Dr. Clarke.
Thank you very much, and thanks for inviting me to this important program.
First, Dr. Clarke, tell us what is a pandemic. For those of us who are not that widely read, we hear the word pandemic. What's a pandemic?
A pandemic is exactly what it means. It's not like a mug. It's a huge, wide swath of things, meaning it's worldwide. It's not endemic to one country. It's pandemic all over the world.
Okay. So we're told about this virus, COVID-19. Give us a little bit of insight as to what it is, some of its effects, and I leave it open to you to go in and to explain to us exactly the whole issue surrounding this pandemic and the response to it.
There's a series of virus. You have COVID-2, 19, and there are other variants which comes out. One of the problem with COVID-19 is the virulence of this virus. It's the way I put it for myself is an EOO virus, meaning it's an equal opportunity organism. It doesn't care whether you're rich, poor, black, white, straight, gay, it doesn't matter. It's going to affect you if you are not very careful. At the present moment, we have a vaccine, or two vaccines approved so far, which can be very helpful. But we should not forget, this is not the be-all, cure-all. It's to help us to get to a stage which we can manage this virus effectively. One of my basic concerns is in the minority community, who are very skeptical about the government and this vaccine. And maybe rightfully so, based on history of what in the Tuskegee experiment where blacks were utilized to test syphilis. They were not treated properly, and then they came down with neurosyphilis and all the maladies of a bad infection, and they suffer greatly for it. So now the minority community do not trust the government, especially with the vaccine, which seems to have developed overnight. But let us not forget, that is not true. This was being worked on for about 17 years. Technology has improved tremendously, so we can get to that vaccine stage at a faster speed than 10, 15, 20 years ago. One of my position, and it's so important that the minority community got to understand, we are so gravely affected by this virus because of A, poor health initially, comorbidities like asthma, TB, hypertension, diabetes, just name it. It's a whole plethora of disease processes which we are. Poor nutrition, overheating. So these are comorbidities which will make it worse for the minority community. On top of that, let us not forget there are basically three types of medicine practice in the United States: one for the rich, one for the poor, one for the black, and one for the whites. People do not
Why would you
like to
say that?
hear, because I've seen it.
Why would you?
I've seen it occur. If you are
Okay.
rich, you get treated quite differently, not by every doctors, but by some doctors, you get treated better than if you are poor. And if you're minority, you get treated worse than somebody else who is also poor but happens to be white or of a different color. Let's not kid ourselves about it. Let's not try to make a nicety about it. This is real. This is something we have to deal with. We have been dealing with this for a long time, and we'll be dealing with this for a very long time to come. So the blacks or minority as a whole might have a rational reason for being suspicious of the government. However, I want to tell them, with all your skepticism and your suspiciousness, you should not get worried about taking this vaccine. It's life and death. If you take this
You see it
vaccine,
in those broad terms.
I'm sorry,
You see it
I
in
didn't hear what
those
you said.
broad terms.
Yes, yeah, it's
You
in a
see it
broad
in those
term.
broad terms.
Yes, it is
Okay.
in a broad term. By taking the vaccine, you are protecting yourself and your neighbors. If you do not, you are exposed 100%. If you take it, even though we know currently that there is mutation going on in Europe and in South Africa, where the vaccine, like anything else, is trying to survive. So it's finding a way to get around the virus is finding a way to get around with the vaccine. But does not
Okay. Can
mean
you
you shouldn't
explain to
take the
us?
vaccine.
Can you
What they
explain to
do,
us the term mutation?
okay, what happened? The virus which we know as COVID-19, just like anything else, if you're driving down a street and there is an accident and you want to get around, you try to find a way around the accident. Well, let's be real. The virus is smart enough to try to find its way to get around the vaccine. But that does not stop us from taking the vaccine, because what the vaccine does is to prevent against the COVID-19. The variants which have developed now just give us a little more time now to increase the vaccine ability to catch the new variants of this virus. So by not taking the vaccine, you are just making things extremely worse for yourself and for your neighbors. So I would suggest to every male, female, black, white, it doesn't matter where you come from, to take this vaccine. The government is not making a vaccine to kill you, or for that matter, to run experiment on you like what happened in the Tuskegee experiment, syphilis experiment. This is not the case. So for those who would tell you, oh, don't take it because the government is trying to do this and they are selling fool's gold, I would tell everyone, take the vaccine. It's a protection against you and that virus and your neighbors against the virus. So you got to protect yourself and you have to protect your neighbors, because this is one time when they said neighbors protect themselves and protect your neighbors. This is this time where it has that meaning.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about um, tell us a little bit about the vaccination as it relates to children, because a lot of us have children, some much younger than others, and being parents, I think there's the deep concern as to what will this vaccination have on my child.
Okay. Initially, when the virus came about, we thought that children would not be effective. It was mostly older people and people with comorbidities. But like anything else, medicine is not an exact science. It at best it is part science, part art, part luck, meaning we learn things as we go on day by day. Now we know that little kids also get COVID. However, still the majority of infection, which really goes on to be catastrophic for adult, we are not seeing that much in children. Yet we are seeing some of it. Don't get me wrong, we are seeing some deaths from it. So we have to first look at the people who are most susceptible, which are the frontline workers, people in their 60s, 70s, people in nursing homes, and people which work in close coordination, like in the meat factories and things like that sort. So, what the vaccine is, and I want to make this point clear, the current vaccine is not a vaccine where we take in part of the virus and basically attenuated it, meaning that we partially killed it. That is not what is happening. In the vaccine, there is a specific thing known as the spike protein, which is made in the lab, not taking the virus particle to make it. It's made in the lab because this is one of the protein which the virus needs to penetrate the body and to infect the body. The scientists have created that in the lab, again, not from the virus. It's from chemicals. They produce this. So when they introduce it into the body by a vaccine, it allows your body to recognize that spike protein, develop antibodies, so that if you're exposed to the virus itself, as soon as the virus gets to you, this antibody which you have produced from the vaccine recognizes it and basically blocks it or kills it off, so you do not get infected by the virus. And I want people to understand that, because it is so important that everyone, every man, woman, child should get the vaccine. Right now, the older people on the front line are the most important people to get that vaccine. And then you
Okay, Dr.
move
Clark,
down the line.
we're coming up towards a break. So we're gonna break and then come back and then get deeply into some more issues as it relates to COVID-19.
I'm New York City Health Commissioner Oxidis Barbeau. As the city's doctor, I have an urgent plea on behalf of all New Yorkers. Stay home. When you go out, you risk contracting or spreading coronavirus to others. You put others at risk of serious illness and even death. When you do have to go out for essentials like groceries or medicine, try to keep at least 6 feet between yourself and others. By staying home, you save lives.
Okay, welcome back with Ms. Dr. Kildare Clarke. Dr. Clarke,
Yeah.
I just
Welcome
wanted
back.
to, yes, welcome back, to give you the opportunity to, you know, go into what you were saying before we enter the break about the need for us to take the virus.
Take the
Sorry,
vaccine. Take the
take the
vaccine.
vaccine. Take the
Yes.
vaccine. Take the vaccine. Okay, so I wanted to ask you though a little bit about. I've noticed just in my general readings where countries with very stressed and underfunded health systems have made remarkable progress in holding down the spread of the virus. For example, Senegal and a few Caribbean countries, and also in Latin America. Can you speak to that?
Well, there are a couple things which must be remembered here. That in those countries, they follow a strict rules. The rules of law applies. If they said they're going to shut down, that's what it means. It doesn't mean that they're going to go underground and have the underground party or try to fight against the scientists and what they said is necessary to control this virus. So that's why they're more successful. You could see that in this country, if you look at place like Florida versus what New York was when the governor of New York was so strict in making sure that certain things doesn't go on, things close. You couldn't go into a restaurant, those type of things. And the moment you release that type of control, and people start having like it's 1999, they're going to party like 1999. We see exactly what occurred. The viral level goes up among people. Yes, we are testing more, so we're going to find a lot more positive people. But we cannot forget that the protection we take for ourselves is the protection against infecting other people or other people infecting us. So it is so important that despite the fact that we are getting two vaccines and quite probably pretty three soon, we cannot throw out the basic. Wear your mask, as you just heard from the Surgeon General. Wear your mask, keep your distance, wash your hands. Be conscious that, as I can remember when I was in doing my microbiology, there was a professor known as Dr. Barres, and she always said, be serious with be serious. Be serious is Bacillus cereus. And she's telling it's so virulent that whenever we are handling it, we've got to be serious with it. So be serious with be serious. Well, the same thing goes for COVID. This is not something to play around with. You've got to follow the instructions given to you by the scientists. Follow them. They are not going to lead you astray, because if they do, they are in peril also. Because the virus doesn't sit around 2 feet. We tell you stay 6 feet apart, but we don't know fully. The virus might be spreading 10 feet. We are not 100% sure. We are telling you to the best of our knowledge or educated guess at that point how the virus can affect you. But it's airborne. So
You,
does it mean it's going to live for 2 seconds or going to live for 10 seconds? One does not know for sure. But we know what we can do to help stop the spread of this virus.
okay, so you just mentioned an important point in stating that the virus is airborne. People might ask, to what extent is it airborne? How many feet does it have efficacy? How long? Is there any way you can at least guide us in that respect?
I I honestly do not believe any one of us knows that. If we knew that, we would be so precise, just like physics is very precise, it's an exact science. What we are telling you is not an exact science. We're telling you to the best of our ability what we think it is. As you notice, just like anything else in medicine, as we go on year to year, the very same thing we used to say 2 years ago, we have changed it to the most updated form. That is what medicine is all about. And for us to believe that we are going to be able to tell you this is exactly how you do it is foolhardy. We are testing new modalities as we go along and bring it forward and said, well, we tried this is what works. Let go with this one.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I would
Now,
like the community, again, cannot emphasize it enough. Please take the vaccine. It's the best thing we have right now. And it's important for everyone to get that vaccine.
okay. Now, Dr. Clark, um, shall we expect in the future other types of viruses like this? Is this something that we have to resign ourselves to live with, or is this just a once in a lifetime occurrence?
I I don't think any one of us can tell you it's going to be a once in a lifetime occurrence or we can expect this. We know that viruses are pleomorphic. One minute they are dormant, the next minute they can be as active like a volcano. So let us not forget we are always looking at tomorrow. So for one to tell you once we hit this pandemic and stop it in its track, we will never see another pandemic. That would be foolhardy to say because we cannot 100% predict that.
Okay, okay. So we just have to develop, in addition to other things, a mental attitude that these things are part of our life and our existence as human beings.
Absolutely. We live amongst virus and disease processes. We are the disease process ourselves too because we killing off other things to survive. So other things is always going to kill us to survive.
Okay,
So
that's
let's not be that foolhardy to believe we are the master of all masters in the universe. If we just look at it in its most simplistic form, we have to survive. So we kill the plants to eat to survive. The virus have to survive. They have to do something else to survive. It's as
okay.
simplistic as that.
If you could speak a little bit about your uh, knowledge or your analysis as to its origins and if there's any importance or whether any importance should be attached to that.
I could not speak to the origin of this virus. It could be anything. It could be just developed, sitting there dormant and develop. It could be other things too. I do not want to facilitate some of my own good thinking and weird thinking about it. We know we have a virus which we have to deal with. Let's know the component of the virus, what it is made of, whether it's how we are going to try to stop it. Right now, again, the vaccines which we have, which is mRNA, messenger RNA, which carries message from one part to the other. That's what it really basically means to change the complexion or the situation in your body, to change your cells to behave the way the virus wants to behave. But we also have other factors which we are born with from our DNA, genetic material, which can cause things to happen. So, what I'm basically saying here, there are a lot of things which we still do not know as scientists, as doctors. We are always learning new things because new disease process comes up, which we didn't think about 10 years ago, might be showing up now. And just as much as we have cured some of the other disease process which used to be as murderous as anything else. So we will learn as we go along and we will cure things as we go along, but also new things will come up as we go along.
Okay, okay. Well, Dr. Clark, we're coming up to the end. I want to ask you if you could take few minutes to summarize and to speak to where we are now as a community, as humans, and specifically you outlined certain things that certain communities are predisposed to. If you could speak to that issue to tell us what you think in your long years of your professional life as a physician, a healer, what could be some of the things that we embrace and adopt that would help us in our response to this COVID 19?
I think one of the things which is very important for me is that we've got to start at a much earlier age to start teaching that healthcare on a whole. We wait until someone get maybe to high school to start teaching them, oh, you can become a doctor. And this should be happening way from elementary school. Expose children to a lot more knowledge and education. We think that they are too young to understand certain things. Maybe they will not fully understand, but words which are said when you're 3 years old, if you go back and ask a lot of students when they are in their 20s, they can remember what you said when they were 3. So we are just being stupid in not believing that children have the capacity, a larger capacity than we think, to look at things, to understand things, and to think it through. They may not do an excellent job to think it through the way we would when we are 20, but by planting that seed early, it is such a useful thing which makes a better community. And we've got to change our educational system to accommodate that type of teaching and not to believe that, oh, you are from a poor area, so therefore you are not a good enough student, or you are from a rich area, so you're a great student. That is not true. You're going to find the best and the worst student in every community.
In
It's
every
our
cohort.
responsibility to start the process a lot earlier than we do.
Okay. Well, Dr. Clark, we are almost at the end. I want to thank you extremely uh, on behalf of my viewers for taking time out to come and speak to us. Thank you for leaving those words of wisdom. And I would like to wish you, Dr. Clark, my guests, my viewers, and the wider public season's greetings and the very best for 2021, the year ahead. Thank you for
Thank you very
tuning in.
much.